So under Obama, you had something called the Tea Party
Yeah.
that attacked socialism. It was a total controlled opposition. In fact, Paul Ryan actually came out of that movement. But now, today, capitalism has failed so many tens of millions of Americans that you have figures like Tucker Carlson, who's on Fox News, who is very critical of capitalism, and he is actually a nationalist leaning. Like in his book, he talks about like how the collapse of the European majority in America is bad for the country, and he talks about things like that. And he is increasingly attacking capitalism in a socialistic fashion. In fact, Ben Shapiro was implying that he's a socialist, which is hilarious. There's a viral clip. You guys should look it up of Tucker Carlson versus Ben Shapiro, and you will see the more national socialist arguments against the Judeo-capitalist ones. So there's that, and there's another thing too that's exciting, which is that younger people under 35 increasingly support socialism over capitalism. So what's going on here is, as J.D. Vance says, who's not a leftist, he's a nationalist. He wrote he said on the Tucker Carlson show, he said the trends for working class and middle class whites in America is to be more left wing on economics, but more hard right wing on cultural issues. They want to protect the nation and the race and that, while at the same time they want to protect their Social Security. They want universal health care. They want labor rights. They want stronger unions and higher wages. So this is kind of like the new political paradigm arising. And I think we have the advantage here because the left, I don't know about Sweden, but in America, the left no longer really criticizes capitalism. No. Now it's all about sexual stuff. It's all about black power, mass immigration, attacking whites, attacking the coal miners for their white skin. I mean, that's the type of things they do. So they have totally given up the fight against capitalism, and that gun is right there on the table. So nationalists can take that critique up and have enormous amounts of success just by being anti-capitalist and combining that with a nationalist platform.
I like how you brought up Tucker Carlson. I enjoy listening to him, and I see him change over the years. And I just wonder when he's going to realize one day that he is actually a National Socialist. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't want to comment because Jews listen to everything I say, and then they say that I am somehow influencing Tucker Carlson. No joke. That's something the George Soros media man, which I'm not. I don't know Tucker Carlson. I've never met him or anything about him. But increasingly, the critiques he's coming up with are things that are kind of counterintuitive for a traditional right-winger in America. So clearly, he's an extremely intelligent person. And also clearly, he's got to know more than he lets on. I mean, the reason he doesn't say more probably is because, they would take him off of TV. So he's really walking a tightrope here. And I think the Jews of America understand exactly, because what I always say is this. They said there's only two groups that know exactly what's going on in America right now. It's Jews and Nazis. Okay? So
that's true.
The Nazis and the Jews hear Tucker Carlson and they listen to Tucker Carlson and they hear the same thing, which is why the Jews really hate him. The Nazis really love him, and the people in the middle are just like, I kind of like what Tucker Carlson's saying, and they don't know anything of anything else, right? So the point I'm saying here is that Tucker Carlson is breaking down the traditional left-right paradigm, because I think being a inflexible right-winger is a mistake, because natural law isn't left or right, and essentially as National Socialists we are not left or right, but above. We want what is conducive to national racial existence. So essentially, what Tucker Carlson is doing is breaking down those barriers, regardless of what his end game is. So I think what he's doing is extremely exciting, and he's also raised the level of discourse in America for right wingers, because traditionally the way discourse works is that you have a leftist with really shitty arguments, but then you have the right-wing opposition being controlled opposition and having even shittier arguments. With Tucker Carlson, whenever he brings a leftist on, Tucker Carlson destroys him. So this is a new and exciting development in the political history of the United States, for sure. And I see this happening in France. I see this happening in Germany. I mean, the main German leftist party, Die Linke, recently had a split with Sarah Wagenknecht, where they have now a left-wing party that is anti-immigration. And that's, I think it's called Aufstehen. So you're starting to see this breakdown of left and right everywhere. And that's a very good thing. That's very conducive for us because it allows us more flexibility in being populist and appealing to the people.
Yeah. So we're moving into nationalism versus globalism, or National Socialist against Jews, basically.
Exactly.
That's where we want to be at. But how is your view on accelerationism then, in this time where we're looking at basically inevitable economical collapse unless they will do magic with their knees, as we say in Swedish? I don't know how they're going to pull this one off, but how do you see how do you see us gaining from things accelerating?
I don't necessarily subscribe to accelerationism. I mean, I understand the logic to it, but I don't actually think there's going to be a major collapse like one that we saw in the 1920s and 30s. And that is simply because the governments and their economic policies are going to prevent that. But what I will say is that, you don't need a major economic crisis to have a flare-up. You just need for people to have had enough about a whole myriad of issues. For example, we see this in France right now with the yellow vests. I mean, the yellow vests are coming out. The straw that broke the camel's back is the fuel tax. But, they're angry about a lot of other things. Like, they're angry about the UN Migration Pact. They're angry about all these other things. And what they're doing is they see that they're not being represented by their government. And instead, the government is being run by a small clique of Jews in the center of Paris. So they're going to the center of Paris and smashing it up. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that. In fact, I think that the situation in France, where liberalism is being rejected outright, is probably the beginning of the end of the European Union. Between Brexit, the French riots, and the Italian coalition government, and and of course the Visegrad group, all of these different entities that are struggling against the limitations of the European Union are going to end up collapsing it.
Yeah. And there might be this, like you're saying, that it's not going to be this instant collapse that will basically herd the people into the arms of whatever movement picks them up. It might be a slow malaise, where people incrementally suffer more and more. We do hope that Swedes become uncomfortable to the point that they're actually ready to make radical decisions about their life and want to change things. This is, I think, as well, like you, might be wishful thinking, because they have ways of manipulating the system that they didn't back in the 20s. So, but... Yeah. Yeah,
I think ultimately, though, that the manipulation techniques are starting to grow obsolete.